If you think SeaWorld is just about dolphins doing tricks, babes, think again. We took 3 generations of our family to SeaWorld Abu Dhabi, the largest indoor marine theme park in the world, which shouldn't surprise us because let's be honest, if the UAE do anything, they go big or they go home. From touching real starfish and stingrays to a moment that tested me as a mother, to discovering something about my own children that I did not expect, and somewhere between breathtaking beauty, ethical questions, and a confrontation I didn't plan for, this day became so much more than just a theme park. And let me take you with us. We were staying at a hotel at Yas Island, and a part of the package is tickets to the theme parks that are nearby. But to be honest, I did not have much expectation. I was just here for the family time in a foreign place, somewhere that although I had visited before, I hadn't really spent extensive time. But the moment that you walk into this place, you realize that it isn't just a theme park. It is definitely an experience. It is massive, immersive, and beautifully designed. Honestly, I can spend so much time just looking around and it feels like every detail is absolutely intentional. They have light, colors, space. It's just beautiful to look at. And the fact that it's entirely indoors is ideal because boy, this place can get super hot, especially when you're with your kids. You just want everyone to be comfortable. My first impression after getting past the security that are taking their job just a little bit too seriously was that this place is huge. You definitely cannot do it all in a day. We didn't do any shows. We didn't have any of these immersive experiences, but we did try. There was something for everyone: toddlers, older kids, adults, grandparents, genuinely all ages. And even with a full day, there are still things that I would love to go back and do because I've heard about some other incredible experiences that we just didn't have time for. So if you go, I definitely recommend that you plan ahead just to see the things that you really want to, because chances are you will not see everything. What really stood out to me was the ability to be able to interact with the animals. We touched real starfish, not through a glass, not from watching far away, but actually got up super close. And then there were the stingrays, which I actually remember doing myself as a child. They are super smooth and gentle and surprisingly calm. Watching my girls get to interact and be super curious and also to teach them about respect was a really beautiful thing. But hold on for 1 second. I did think I'm not sure if this is okay in terms of animal welfare, but I do think that sometimes we have to strike that balance, right, between human interaction so that our children have these forgettable moments and also balancing that with the treatment of the animals' experience and ethics. Sometimes it gets a little bit grey, but we do the best that we can with the tools that we have. I just think it's important to say it's worth considering. What I will say is at least Free Willy isn't here doing tricks, right? At least that was the case when I went to SeaWorld many, many moons ago. I'm showing my age, in Miami. This experience definitely felt a lot more educational rather than performative, and I do think that this matters. It wasn't just about my children being entertained, but they were able to learn, observe, and truly connect. And in life, everything has an opportunity cost, but I do think that them being able to get this up close and personal with the animals is a powerful experience that is going to last a lot longer than perhaps if they just saw them through the glass. Now, not to be dramatic, but it is a story that is worth telling. We were walking through the park going to see the dolphins, but unfortunately it was full and closed, so we couldn't. However, as we were walking through the park, suddenly a woman ran past us. Turns out she was also trying to see the dolphin show. But as she was running, she hit my daughter in her head with her hand that was holding her cell phone. And then my girl just kept running. At first, I didn't even really understand what had happened, but within seconds, my daughter was crying and very upset. And my instinct took over. I crouched down, consoled her, got her side of the story, and then, babes, I stood up. I went after the woman. I wasn't shouting, I wasn't aggressive, but best believe I was firm, because this wasn't just about an accident. Of course, accidents happen. It was about what happened after. It was about her taking zero responsibility. And in my mind, how could you behave this way? How could you have no regard for a crying child that you literally hit When I caught up to her, I explained calmly why her behavior was not acceptable. And then she said that she did apologize. And that was when I was getting physically angry because I don't like when people tell lies. Furthermore, it turns out that she's also a mother. Her daughter was standing beside her and she was about 9 years old. And I asked her, if I had hit your daughter, even by accident, I would have stopped, checked immediately, made sure that she was okay, and also sincerely apologized to her and you. She then says, oh, but I did apologize. I was like, no, you couldn't have apologized because you didn't even stop. You kept running. And although I was getting angry, you know, that kind of anger that builds inside of you because you can't release it. And yes, I can go from 0 to 100 very easily, but I made sure to stay controlled because 2 wrongs do not make a right. And more importantly, when I address adults or address confrontation like this, it is more about my kids than it is the person who has done the thing that I consider wrong. When I confront that person, I want my child to learn from me. I have to lead by example. I want my child to see how I manage conflict, how I stay calm, and more importantly, I want them to know that I will always have their back. I am here to support them no matter what. So really and truly, her response is pretty much irrelevant, but it did leave a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth, but I'm not one to hold down on bad vibes. So we kept it moving, babes, to enjoy the rest of our day. Another big lesson of the day is that our children will definitely surprise us as long as we give them the space to do so. The twin that I consider the more brave one suddenly didn't want to go on as many rides. She actually opted out. She said that her tummy felt uncomfortable when she was going too high and she just wanted to observe. Luckily here, there's like a soft play kind of area that her and my dad were able to enjoy. But the other one, she was super confident. She wanted to go on rides again and again. And it reminded me of something really important. We cannot project our own expectations onto our children because unknowingly we can actually limit their growth. If we give them the space to tap into different parts of their identity, different parts of their character, and ultimately learn from their own experiences without our expectations confining them into a box, just letting them be themselves, then they will surprise both themselves and us. And so I just wanted to remind you that as parents, it is our job to step back a little and not tell our children what they like, what they don't like, but just be willing to observe and let their characters unfold before our very eyes. I mean, she's still talking about the roller coasters and telling everybody at every opportunity that she went super high in the sky. And I just think that I almost could have robbed her of that experience and that moment to build her own confidence. Even whilst waiting for rides, there's opportunities to learn. Like this octopus ride had little plaques to show us details and interesting facts about the octopus. For example, I learned that octopuses or octopi have 9 brains. For a moment, I even felt guilty for eating them, but babes, they just taste so good. That's for another discussion. However, I did learn some French words because, as you know, I only talk to my girls in French. So there was some vocab that I had to brush up on, like theme park is parc d'attraction, roller coaster, montagne russe, and walrus is morse. If you've been following along, you know that my girls are technically homeschooled. So again, the opportunities like this are nice to bring learning into real life experiences. And it doesn't mean sitting at a desk and just doing workbook exercises all day. Like any theme park, the lines can be long to get onto the rides, even when it doesn't feel that busy. But the beauty of this place definitely is a feast for the eyes. And I really recommend in the line when you're with your family, do not go for grabbing your phone or the iPad with your child. Use those moments to observe, to look around, to talk, to discuss, and just make sure that every little part of your trip is a bonding experience. Talk about what ride you want to go on to next. Talk about their feelings. Talk about the facts, the animals. Honestly, there's so much to just look around and enjoy that really it's easier than you think to be screen-free. And even if you're not screen-free all the time, let these outings encourage you to have those screen-free moments because trust me, memories are made even when you think you're just waiting for a ride. Also, it's worth noting that in the ride section, it is not super overwhelming. So my girls are 4. And yes, there was a lot to see, a lot to hear, and the hustle and bustle of a theme park, but it didn't at any point make them feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel like my ears were wincing or that I wished things were lower. It is definitely a family-friendly space. I cannot stress enough how just walking through the theme park almost has like an ethereal feeling. The lighting is superb, it changes, and once again, there's just so much to look at and see. I just kept looking at this globe in the center and just giving that the building has so much height and a lot has gone into these details. At no point do you get bored. Put it that way. Even when you're not on a ride, even when you're not touching the starfish, you just walk through and you just are in awe of how spectacularly gorgeous this theme park is. The main central area also became like our family's little hub. So my sister's children, who are a little bit older, they were able to go on the roller coaster that you saw on the outside, and then we would meet back here. It just means that everybody can do their own thing and then come back as a family. I can't remember the name of this area, but this is where we got to see some other animals that no, you can't pet or interact with. But there were massive walruses or sea lions, and then there's like a white looking fox thing and some penguins that actually weren't penguins, but they're just little birds. Again, a great learning experience. Around the amusement park, there's, a lot of opportunities to buy things. There's kiosks, and I'm sure there's food available, but if you've been following me, you know that my girls do not eat from places like this because unfortunately the status quo is not to serve things that I believe are healthy for our children. But also, I think because I'm not used to buying things and I just don't see it. My kids don't see teddy bears and immediately ask to buy them. I don't even know where they were selling them. But I've seen other people talk about their visits and they definitely existed. So don't worry, you will not go hungry and your shopaholic tendencies will still be able to live. I'm just not the creator that's going to be able to show you that side. These are the brightest colored flamingos I've ever seen in my life. And although they are stunning to look at, they're definitely not pale. There's not a soft pink. They're vibrant, super intense, almost like fluorescent, like they were glowing. If I'm not mistaken, flamingos in the wild get their color from eating prawns. And I could not help but question, why are these flamingos so bright? And then if I looked in their food, there were these little pellets. And I thought, is it mankind that is influencing their color deliberately through their diet? Because yes, it is a wonder for the eyes. And of course, it enhances our experience as consumers. But I found it a little bit unsettling. Nature is doing its thing and our relationship with it can be complex, especially when you see these flamingos that are ultimately captive and they don't have, I don't think that was real grass. It looks a little bit like astroturf. Anyway, I'm not trying to, rain on anyone's parade or be a negative Nancy. The flamingos were beautiful, but it just gave me things to think about. And there would be no SeaWorld without us having multiple opportunities to see life beneath the ocean. Like, this video does not even do it justice. But if I had a massive house, I definitely need some sort of big tank because there is really something relaxing about just seeing fish move, about seeing calm, serene environments. And that shark, I don't know why it's so hitch up and kind of crooked. It looks like something has happened to it. I hope that it wasn't anything too dramatic, but he seems to be living his best life. So let us also not put our human feelings onto animals that we just don't know enough about. All in all, it was a great day out, and I learned even more than the fact that I want to see more Jamaican flags up and about in Jamaica, as I do see the UAE flag around everywhere, and it makes me smile because I believe in the power of national pride. As for our day at SeaWorld, I hope that my children learn to be curious, to respect animals, to handle conflict calmly, to express fear without shame, to explore courage in their own way. My darling, you're welcome.